If you'd like to support this channel, we invite you to check us out on Patreon. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to give you all an update on where we're at with this MSM that we sprayed a few weeks ago and how the ryegrass is doing. And today we're going to do our scalps and get this Bermuda start coming back to life. So I'm going to take you guys around, show you guys kind of where we're at, and answer some of those questions that you guys have been asking me about MSM and how long it takes and just things like that. So let's go around, let me show you where we're at, and we'll check things out.
Yeah.
So it's a little windy today, so the mic's gonna be a little noisy, but here's where we're at after 4 weeks after spraying that MSM. You can see there's quite a bit of green all throughout here, but you can also, if you get down close, you can see that the tips are dead and brown, and there's a lot of brown spots all throughout here. So that's how we know it's time to remove it and it's ready to go. And so that's why we're going to do a scalp today. So a question I get asked quite a bit is, how do you know that the MSM is working when your grass is still dark green and looks really healthy? And the answer to that is, think about the time of year we're in. Right now, the UV rays are really not that intense. The first day of spring was just a week ago. And so the sun is just now starting to make its way back. So photosynthesis has been really slow. And that's why you don't see an immediate reaction to that stuff this time of year. And so I can assure you that when you spray it, it's working. You just gotta let it do its thing. Don't go out there and throw down a bunch of fertilizer and water your lawn. I mean, of course it's gonna look nice if you do that, but if you do, you're just kind of being counterproductive with what you're trying to achieve with killing the ryegrass. And so what I've done is I sprayed this MSM out. It's been about 4 weeks. I've let it do its thing. I've only mowed it once since spraying it, and everything has just kind of over time done its job. And our UV rays have started to get more intense here lately, and so I'm starting to see more of the rye start to fade away, and that's because the sun's back. So if that's you, and your grass is dark green, don't get worked up about it. Don't worry about it. As long as you spray it at the right rates, and that's the key thing, is make sure you're using the correct rates. Don't over apply it because you're still seeing dark green, and don't get nervous because you're not seeing an immediate reaction as well. Just give it its time to do what it needs to do, and I promise it'll work if you follow the directions. And so another way that you can tell if the MSM is working is you'll notice that your grass stops growing. And I know that seems kind of vague, but you'll notice that this time of year when the temperatures are cool, that's what ryegrass enjoys. That's when it's at its peak. It's when cool season turf really takes off, is these 60 degree, 70 degree days that we're having. And so when you spray the MSM, you'll see that the growth stops. And that's what's happened with my lawn. It really hasn't done much in quite a while. And so that's how you know that MSM's working. And that's another reason why I say just give it some time to do its job and be patient with it and follow the label, the correct rates, and everything will come out just fine. So now that we know the MSM's good to go and everything's starting to fade off, I'm ready to get my Bermudas looking good again, because now we're starting to have kind of the worst lawn on the block as we're in this awkward transition period. So today we're going to go ahead and do our scalps. We're going to lower that how to cut down. I want to get down to about 3/8 is my goal to mow this year. So we're going to scalp this down. It's currently at about a 1/2 inch, so we need to get just over 1/4 inch cut out of here and get this ryegrass out and just kind of open up the turf canopy a little bit. And hopefully in a few weeks this Bermuda will start to take off. And I know it's ready to. You can look around at the neighbors' lawns and they're starting to green up a little bit on the Bermuda, so it's time. So it's a good time to go ahead and take this ryegrass out of here and get things moving. So to do the scalping today, I'm going to use the True Cut, and there's 2 reasons for that, why I picked that over my Toro Greensmaster, and it's because this True Cut has an 8-blade reel in it, and so it can move a lot of material at one time. The other reason is it has a variable clutch on it, so I can kind of take my time moving through some of that material without causing excessive wear on the mower. And that's why I just don't like using the Greensmaster for that. It likes to mow at a very consistent speed and rate because it's meant to mow on putting greens, and so I just don't like using that for a scalping machine. So I'm going to use the True Cut to go do our initial scalping out there, and then I'll use the Toro there at the end to do a final polished cut on it. Make sure we're at that 3/8 mark I want to be at. about 1/4 of an inch, and I gotta tell you, this looks really good. I can't believe the smooth transition. A lot of this green is actually green Bermuda, believe it or not. And so that looks really, really nice. We've still got some ryegrass in there, but it'll go away the more we scalp and the more the summer heat starts to kick in. But this is probably one of the best transitions I think I've ever had. So I'm really excited about this. So I mowed it 1/4 of an inch according to that mower, but I'm gonna go set my Toro to 3/8, and I bet that that's gonna get some more of this material out because that's set with an AccuGauge. So we'll get Toro out, run this around again, and clean things up a little more and see how this turns out. Alright, so I'm back in the garage because I was mowing along and I started to hear this noise of whoa, and what that is the reel starting to get really hot because it's not cutting very much material. And so anytime you hear that, you want to stop because the reel starts getting hot and the edges start to dull, and it can cause a lot of wear on your bed knife and your reel. And so I'm going to lower it down to 1/4 of an inch instead of 3/8. That way we're cutting a little bit more material at one time, because the grass helps lubricate your reel and keep it lubricated while it's spinning. And if it doesn't have that lubrication, it gets really hot and it just dulls your edges. So I'm gonna lower it down and we'll go mow some more and finish this thing off. So this right here, this lip, that's what I'm talking about, the difference between a homeowner mower and a professional greens mower. We both set to 1/4 of an inch, and there's about 1/4 of an inch difference in that how to cut right there. So big difference between mowers. We'll see if we get up against this tree. Hopefully it'll block some of that wind noise. But we got it all mowed at 1/4 of an inch, and it looks really good. And so it looks nice. I mean, you can still see the stripes right now, and it'll look good for about a week, but it's going to get pretty ugly because we just put a lot of damage on the turf. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to put out a starter fertilizer. And I know some of you guys are like, well, wait a minute, your soil test might say different. I can't put starter fertilizer down. Listen, guys, it's one application. It's not going to detour your results for the rest of the growing season. I just like to put that down to give it a good boost of nitrogen and give it a good source of phosphorus for the roots to start getting stimulated and start growth again. And it just helps it get through the scalp process. So I'm going to put some starter fertilizer down and water that in real good this week, and that's going to help that Bermuda start to take over as this ryegrass starts to fade out. And you know, I've got some issues. I've got a little bit of crabgrass, I've got a little bit of poinia I've got to take care of a little later, but I'm not going to do any of that right now. Right now the main goal is to get your Bermuda nice and healthy so it looks good for the growing season. So that's what we're going to focus on first. Just do one thing at a time. You don't have to get all worked up about doing everything at once like everybody does on the internet. It's okay. Baby steps. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Starter fertilizer, we're going to water that in real good, and we're going to give it a week, and hopefully everything starts to look really good. All right, so we're back out here to put our starter fertilizer down, and I'm just going to use a Scott starter fertilizer. It's what I have at the box store, and it'll work just fine. And so I'm going to go with a rate of 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 just to kickstart this Bermuda and get it to green up real quick. And so an easy way to figure that out is this analysis on the bag is 24% nitrogen. So to make our math easy, just call it 25. And for 1 pound of nitrogen, if you just take the value of 100, okay, so that gives you the 1 pound of nitrogen. 100 divided by 25 gives you 4 pounds. So basically I need 4 pounds of nitrogen, or 4 pounds of this product per 1,000 square feet. And I've got 2,700 square feet. So we'll just call it, 10 pounds of this product that I need to put down on the yard. So I know that rate's a little high for starter fertilizer, but I promise it's okay. Like I told you guys earlier, it's just one application. It's just to help kickstart this Bermuda, get the green up quickly as we approach Easter and get things looking nice. So we're gonna put 8 pounds of this product down. This is a 15-pound bag, so that's gonna be 2/3 of the bag. And so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put some in this hopper. I'm gonna run around real quick and put it down. And one other thing is I'm using the drop spreader today instead of the broadcast spreader because I want it to be a little more precise, because with starter fertilizer you're using, because the nitrogen value is a lot higher, you're actually using less product. And so that's why I'm not using a broadcast spreader, just flinging around everywhere. I want to use a little more precision today, so that's why I'm using the drop spreader. So now we got all that fertilizer down and everything is scalped down to 1/4 of an inch, and the Bermuda's looking really good. It's been about 2 days now since I've scalped, and everything's starting to green up pretty nice. The transition's looking good. I've still got a little bit of ryegrass I'm gonna have to spray around the edges and stuff, but that's not unusual. So we'll take a look at that in a few weeks and see what we need to do there. But I'm really looking forward to all this starting to green up and everything's starting to really take off. And so, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Hope the information's helpful. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you're at all interested in helping support this channel, check us out on Patreon. We'd love to have you with us. I've got some tiers built in there for some more personalized coaching if that's something that interests you. But guys, I hope you have a great week. And I think that's going to do it for this one. We'll see you in the next one.